Time for an update on the Buggy. I'm not exactly sure where I left off at on it last time. I did just quickly look at my video and it was still up on jack stands, so that kind of gives me an idea where I was. I have since put all the major suspension components together and sat it down on the ground and made some plywood wheels because my full intentions, still waiting on the 6 lug hubs from Edge, and I don't want to buy a set of 4-lug tires and wheels for basically no reason. I want to buy one set and be done, so I made some wheels out of plywood. Let me zoom back here. Some wheels out of plywood here, and got it where I can roll it around. It's movable. Steering shaft's made. Adapters made for the rack in there. Don't have very good lighting right now. I did make the roof. Just recently made that, and am working on getting into mounting the skid pans. This is the firewall cutout, or rear firewall is what I would call it. It goes between the engine and the driver compartment. But I've got the skid pan cut out for that. The nose guards cut out. Skid pan underneath there. Skid pan underneath the rear differential case. I'm gonna mount them with these. I was gonna Zeus everything on, but I think these are about 75 cents a piece, and a Zeus one setup is about $2 for every time you want to put a Zeus button on. So that was gonna get pretty expensive. These are pretty cheap, definitely on the stuff, the components like the skid pans. I feel like it's a little heavier than a Zeus button, and it's something that I'm not going to be removing very often, so it'll just be bolts. I'll use a button head cap screw and a lock nut on it, and then these are trick tabs from A&A Manufacturing. They've been around forever. They're 75 cents. Like I said, there's a couple places on eBay that's got them. They're like $2 a piece on there. And they ended up being the cheapest place to get them. So I also have got my header made. I don't think I'd even started that in the last video. I did make a video about making the header, but these are combo bins from Speedway, 1 5/8 into a header from JDM, I want to say is what the company was. I found them on Instagram. JMD tube, maybe. That's where I got the collector, and going to use probably the muffler. I may shorten it. The muffler, I got an exhaust system with this engine whenever I bought it, and so I'm going to use that muffler. And I also had to make these little sleeves that go into the cylinder head, and then there's a copper crush washer behind that seals to it. So worked on that. I got the hood made. I may or may not use. I was trying to make it in one piece, but I'm not real happy with how it lays, so I may end up making it in multiple pieces after all. And then the side panels, I still have full intentions of replacing those. Those were just kind of practice. And I've got I started on the fuel tank. I'm making it out of mild steel instead of aluminum because I can't TIG aluminum myself. Don't have the skills, so I can MIG, and so I'm gonna make it out of steel. I'm making it out of 16 gauge. It's gonna be heavy. It's probably gonna be somewhere around 45 pounds, something like that. I think it's gonna be around 15 pounds heavier than what it would be out of aluminum. And down the road, if I'm in a position where I'm trying to cut weight, and I'll know that that's an easy place to start. But for now, it's gonna cost next to nothing to do this, and just a little bit of time. I'm making it to plans. It's baffled inside. It uses a Hayabusa pump mounted to the bottom of it. Got the ring manufactured, or got it made. It welds to the bottom of the tank, and then the pump just bolts to that and then goes up into just basically makes the sump on the bottom of the tank. And I 3D printed I don't have an index, I just have a cheap lathe. So I 3D printed a template, I guess you would say, to lay out my bolt holes. so that I could get them right, because they're not equally spaced. One is off from the other 4, so figured that would get it closer than laying it out by hand, and it did. It worked fine. This is what's left over of my sheet of aluminum that I got for the rear firewall and all the skid pans and the roof, and so that's pretty much where I'm at on it. I've got the stuff to mount my shock reservoirs. I gotta crush them in just a little bit. They're made for a bigger reservoir than what I got, but that ain't be no problem. But weld a couple of them tabs on there for my reservoirs. Those will be mounted. Like I said, get to actually mounting the belly pans, roof, body panels, finishing up the exhaust. The fuel cell is going to be the next major step, is getting it finished up and mounted. And then that's really the last major step in this whole project. Then it's just going to be a whole bunch of little stuff. I spent a half a day just making spacers and sticking bolts where they need to be, and that stuff's pretty time consuming to get everything to fit, basically. So that's where I'm at on it. Just wanted to post a quick update in case anybody is actually following along on this, or you started your own or whatever. But I am slowly chipping away at it. So